All right, hey guys, give me just a second while I get all connected here.
Awesome.
Still waiting for a few more.
Oh, there you're good.
Sorry guys, I'm on break this week, and so I totally forgot that we had class. Uh, I was out in the wood shop helping my son make a little wooden gun, so I left you guys hanging.
That's fine.
Let's see. Make sure you guys can hear me okay. Um, all right, can you guys hear me? Just give me. No, maybe not. Okay, let's switch back to default.
No, we could hear you. We could hear you. Is he talking? I can't hear you right now if you're talking. Can you hear him? Huh? Can you hear him? Yeah. Can I? Let's get a zoom down.
Can you guys hear this? Can you hear
Yeah,
this
we
now?
can.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so you guys can hear me now, right? Yes? We're good? Perfect. All right. Sorry, I I'm on fall break this week for my high school, so for some reason it just slipped my mind that we would have class today, and I was out in the wood shop making a gun with my son. So I'm going to take a quick break from that, teach you guys about price theory, and I'll be back to making wooden guns for now. You guys have a we can go a little bit over today. If that's okay with you. All right. Okay. So price theory is what most people think of when they talk about economics. Um, there's so much more to it than price theory is what a lot of people think about. Sorry, I need to kind of position myself where I've got a big empty spot over. Uh, Not gonna work. That's okay. Let me pull up another window real quick. And I'm going to do a screen share with you guys, give you the basics of what price theory is. Essentially, it's that before we were talking about trading and things with each other, we have a system that we call barter. One that that not only has something that I want from them, but they want to have to be willing to pay. But I don't want cows. I want a bunch of wheat. So I have to go find someone that has wheat and wants cows. And then what we have to do is determine how much wheat is one cow worth, or how many bushels of wheat can I get for a cow. And through the system of barter, as we do that over and over and over again, what tends to happen is that we come up with exchange rates that or any way that we put this. Okay? Let me see if I can do a screen share and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about real quick. Make sure. And the internet is not like right now. It's really, really. Okay. Sorry, you guys are gonna get seasick watching this. Um, so we're gonna look at this from two different perspectives. Both we're gonna look at it from the perspective of producers, and then we're going to look at it from the perspective of consumers. So there are people who make something, and then there are people who are going to buy it from them. And you've got these two different groups of people. And these two different groups of people have different interests. Okay? Now, generally speaking, you're going to buy more of an item if you can get more of it at a lower price, right? Don't you generally want to buy things when the price is low? That's kind of what most people think. Um, well, most people think that people. But also, does the producer want to sell you something at a very low price? No, no. They want to get as much money as they can. So you've got two opposing forces here. You've got the producers that want the price to be really high, and then you've got the consumers that want the price to be really low, and their behavior is going to adjust based on what that price is. All right.
Here, I'll unmute myself. Can you hear that? Yeah. Is it super delayed? Yeah. That's fine. Echo. That'd be all out of loud. How about that? Hello. Oh, you mute me. You mute me. I just turned it down. No, that sucks. Ryan, be quiet! Oops. Okay. No, you just blocked. Oops. Crap. No, I don't wanna.
All right. Can you guys hear me again? Or is
You
it
don't have. Oh,
okay? Okay. Um, but I'll probably re-record this over so you guys really to be able to understand. And I know you guys could flip things because of my technical difficulties. We'll be adding a few more to this. But I want to try and show you guys something real quick.
is
All
that
right.
Ryan?
One of these
No.
screens,
Mute your headset. My headset? Yeah, mute it.
and I'm going to try and walk you guys through this real quick. So here we're looking at um, the law of demand. And let me show you what it is real quick. Got We've got our price axis that is on our y-axis here, and then we've got our quantity that is on our x-axis. And what happens is there's the law of demand. And the law of demand states that when prices rise, uh, the quantity demanded is going to decrease. And when prices fall, then the quantity demanded is going to increase. Meaning, if the price of goods goes down, then people are going to want Mexican restaurant down here in the valley. I don't know if you guys have it there in Utah, but Del Taco used to do uh, Taco Tuesdays. Yes, kind of like the label. They would do Taco Tuesdays, where their tacos are just regular soft tacos that were usually 59 cents a piece. Now all of a sudden they were 3 for 99 cents. Okay, so the price of tacos went down, and what happens is that people would consume more tacos on those days. Tacos for $1.07 after tax. So people were actually consuming because the price of tacos came down. They were quantity of tacos that they were demanding went up. Okay. So what we do is we consider at all points, at all various price points, whether the price is really, really high or whether the price is really, really low, the entire composition of all of those various price points is what we call the demand curve. And it's always really easy to recognize the demand curve because it always slopes downward. Remember, we read left to right. So the D for demand curve, demand always slopes down. All right. Okay. So the only variable it changes, um, the quantity that people demand, is the price. Price goes up, price goes down. And what that's going to do, it's not going to change the entire demand curve. It's not going to change demand for a product. It is going to change the quantity of that product people are doing. Okay, I want to jump out of this. And from this one, I want to show you guys what the law of supply is. Okay. So supply is just the opposite. So when we're talking about demand, remember we talked about there's two different groups here, and one group, we talked about two groups. One group is the producers, and they're the ones who are supplying the good or the service that's in question. And then the other group is the consumers, and they're the ones who are demanding the good or the service. So when we talk about a supply curve and a demand curve, sorry, this is going to be my supply curve. It's going to slope out. And I don't know if you guys are looking at me like I'm in a mirror or something, but your supply curve is going to slope up from left to right. And your demand curve is going to slope down from left to right. Okay. So who's supplying? Well, producers. Someone that makes stuff. Who's doing the demanding? Consumers. You and I, the people who are going to be buying things. One area where we tend to think of that as flip-flop, although it's not really flip-flop. So that's in the labor for, or in the market for labor. Um, Businesses are the ones that are buying the labor. They're the consumers of labor. So they're the demanders of labor. And us, individuals, do. So in other words, we're the suppliers of labor into the workplace. All right. So now I want to show you uh, the second law here. We're looking at the law of supply. So now we have a supply curve. And notice how our supply curve slopes upward from left to right. And who's doing the supplying again? Remember, supply is done by producers, by whoever's making the product, or at least whoever's selling. They're the one that's supplying. And if they're selling something and they can raise the price higher, what do we see with the quantity supply? They're willing to supply more of a certain quantity as the price goes up. If the price of a good goes down, there's not as much of an incentive to supply it anymore. Okay? So there's a bunch of things that we'll talk about that will shift the supply and the demand curves themselves. but what's going to shift the quantity supplied? It simply shifts in price. So again, here there's a difference between supply, the supply curve, which is all of the various quantities supplied at different price points, um, and just quantity supplied, which is just where it coincides with one point on the supply curve. It coincides with one price. And now, like we said before, um, the only thing that changes the actual quantity supplied, and that's price. So as price changes, quantity supplied is going to shift the supply curve so that different quantities supplied will line up with different price points. So there's only one thing that actually shifts the quantity supplied, and that's price. All right. Okay. If I can get this open up and show this to you guys as well. Okay. The entire supply curve. I'm sorry. It will shift the entire demand curve. But I'm not just talking. Going to move to different points along the demand curve. They actually take the entire demand curve and they shift. So let me show you guys what those are. Okay. Um, and blah blah blah. That's okay. So here are they. The number of consumers. The more people that want something, the greater the demand is going to be shifted to one side. Or the fewer people want something, the demand curve will be shifted the other direction. Um, how much income people have to spend on goods, or how much money people have to spend on what we call inferior goods. And we're not going to go too in depth into that. But also preferences, just people's trends. Some people, you know, things go in and out of fashion, so therefore demand for those things changes. Also, you have substitute items. Uh, so if I go to the store and I want to buy cornflakes, well, I could get the Kellogg's cornflakes, or there's probably 3 or 4 other different brands of cornflakes that are substitutes. And if the substitute's really, really low, then it's pretty likely that I could choose one of those substitutes instead of the Kellogg's brand. Okay? So the price of a substitute is going to impact the demand for my own product. And then you also have the price of a complement. So for complements are products that are used with something. So if we stick with our cornflakes example, if the price of milk suddenly skyrocketed, chances are people aren't going to be eating cold cereal and milk for breakfast very often because the price of milk is so high. And so that's going to have a negative impact on the demand for my product. Also, the expected future prices, if they think that the price of my product is going to go up in the future, they're going to buy more of it right now. If they think the price of my product is going to be less in the future, they might hold off and wait, and then just wait and buy it in the future when it's cheaper. And then the last thing is their expected future income of the consumers themselves. So if they can buy more of the good in the future, they're probably not going to buy as much of it now. Or if they think that they won't be able to afford it in the future, they could buy more of that good or service right now. So let me show you how these work. Blah, blah, blah. Let's switch to Portuguese. Okay. Don't worry, you'll be able to go through those exercises on your own. That will be part of your assignment. And then I want to show you guys the supply or the supply curve, things that impact the supply curve itself. Meaning, what products companies and businesses are willing to supply and at what prices that are willing to supply those products. The law is okay, so here we're looking at 5 determinants of supply, um, and now we're looking at the number of suppliers. So the number of businesses that are supplying the same products. Remember, the more businesses there are, the more competition there is, prices are usually going to be lower. Also, the costs of making that product can determine not necessarily what the price actually is, but it can determine what the suppliers are willing to supply it at. Um, how many would I be willing to supply at $4 if that good cost me $5 to produce? Well, zero, because I'd lose money for every one that I produce. Okay. Now we're looking at physical availability of resources, and that has to go a lot into cost because really the availability of resources will go into the supply and demand for that product, which changes the cost of manufacturing. But really, it's just if you don't have any of the resource, you can't supply any of it. Also, technology. As our technology advances, things get cheaper and cheaper to produce. Uh, Also, less and less expensive to distribute those things. That will change how much producers are willing to supply of those goods. And the last one says expected future P by supplier. That just means expected future price. Meaning if the supplier expects the price to go up in the future, they might hold back on some of the supply that's available now and wait and release it in the future when it's available at a higher price. All right? Stuff. Email screen here. And I know you guys are both sitting there going, what the heck is all this? Because it can be a lot to take in. Um, the main idea is that suppliers or people who are producing goods are generally willing to supply more of a good if the price is higher. And demanders or consumers of a good are generally willing to demand more if the price is lower. I want to add. I really need to draw. Okay. Let me try to go back to the Reconomic page and show you guys one last thing um, before I let you go, before you get too thoroughly confused. Okay, let me show you this. This will be the last thing, guys, and then we'll wrap up. Okay. All right. So I've got my supply curve. My supply curve is here in red. I've got my demand curve. It's here in blue. What are my two axes that I'm comparing? I've got price and I've got quantity. And those are the two axes. Remember, quantity is always going to go along the x-axis, and price is always going to go along the y-axis, meaning up and down. Well, let's see what happens real quickly if we have something that's going to shift our supply. Okay, so let's say we're looking at a product, and we're looking at cars. This is the price of cars being demanded and the quantity of cars being demanded at that price. And what happens if the supply of available steel suddenly shrinks? Well, if the supply of steel shrinks, then suppliers, okay, this red line here, we're can't first at that low of a price point, the entire supply curve is going to shift to the less. So now what happened to the price of cars? Well, the price of cars just went up, and the quantity of cars supplied just went down from where it was before. And what impact does this have on cars? Well, the price goes up, right? Now let's look at a shift in the demand curve. You guys familiar with those bracelet things? Okay. My kids are head over heels for them and have been for a long time now. But what do you think would happen to those if all of a sudden you had uh, really high fashion models walking down the runway at some big high-end fashion show, and they were wearing rainbow loom bracelets? I would want one of those rainbow loom bracelets, and we would see the demand curve itself shifting, and the entire demand curve is shifting to the right. So what's going to happen when demand for a product goes up? Well, not only is the quantity demanded going up, but you're going to see the quantity supplied move up along with it, and that's going to bring a raise in the price of that product or service. In this case, we're talking about rainbow loom bracelets. Okay. Okay. Too totally burnt out on uh, on economics because price theory is something that's really incredibly powerful, and it's really important that you understand it. Uh, but it's one of those things that most people look at me and go, huh? When is this ever going to be useful? So what I'm going to do is I kind of walk you guys through some of the basics right now, and trust analysis you will ever have. But I walked you guys through some of the basics right now. I'm going to today, before I come up to Utah this weekend, I'll put up another short series of videos uh, that's going to process the data. And there will be a few activities that you can do to kind of help you practice understanding how supply and demand work to set prices. Um, because we walk around and we say, okay, everything has a price, but we don't understand the role that those prices play. And it's important that we understand what prices are. Because if we think that we can just manipulate prices and tell prices to do whatever we want them to do, yeah, it's not going to turn out very well for us. Okay. Um, so yeah, I know it was a short session today because I got distracted. Um, but if you guys give me the time to put something together, put it up on Canvas, then it'll really help you guys understand what prices are and what role they play in our society. And hopefully I'll put it together in a logical fashion that it'll make a little bit more sense to you guys. And then I hope that I'll be seeing you guys this weekend at our entrepreneurship fair, at our entrepreneurship conference at GMA. The speakers are really excited to be there, really excited to meet you guys. I'm really excited for this. And yeah, it'll be really good. I'm really excited about that. All right. Do you guys have any questions for me real quickly? Did any of you guys get to play Stick Wars or do any of the other homework assignments?
We played Stick Wars. So that's about it.
Have any
That's
questions?
very loud. What?
Feel free to type it. But if you don't have any questions, I'm going to list for you guys a little bit here. First, I got to go finish making a wood gun. My son, he can, that guy right there. But I'm going to go finish making that wooden gun with him, and then uh, I'll get those loaded into Canvas for you guys this evening. And then hopefully if you have any questions, reach out to me and let me know. All right?
Alright, thanks.